Peace. The other day I made a post about Aquarius, and I was like, somewhere along the lines, I was like, everything that makes them a genius also makes them crazy as fuck. And, I didn't say that with any malicious intent, so allow me to explain what I mean when I say about it. When I actually made that post, I was watching MJ, I was watching Jordan, The Last Dance, about the 96 Bulls and everything. So I was watching it, and I was on the last episode. I watched episode 10. And, when watching it, one of the people being interviewed, the guy, he had an interesting observation about Michael, and I found it really, really interesting. I believe it was Mark Vancil. He was the author of the book Rare Air. But he says something like, most people struggle to be present. They could go and sit in ashrams for 20 years in India, do yoga, meditation, trying to get to the here and now, trying to be present. Most people live in fear because, we're often projecting from the past into our future. Well, he said, Michael's a mystic. He said, what did he say? He said Michael's a mystic. He was never anywhere else. His gift wasn't that he could jump high or that he could shoot a basketball. He said his gift was that he was completely present. And that was the separator. And he goes on to say, a big downfall for a lot of players who are otherwise gifted is thinking about failure. He said Michael didn't allow what he couldn't control to get in his head. He would say, why would I think about missing a shot that I haven't taken yet? Right? And then later on in the episode, Jordan go on to talk about how important that championship was, the second 3-peat, and not just that, but how much he had to be mentally ready, how mentally challenging it was, and how much he had to use his mind more than he had ever had to use it before, right? So, I never realized how much of a master Michael Jordan really was until I seen this documentary. Don't get me wrong, Jordan has always been a GOAT. It's not really a debate, but that's interesting because we can look at Kobe. Kobe has always been outspoken. He's done a lot of speeches. He's done a lot of talks. He said a lot of things about Mamba mentality. And if you really go back and look, he talked a lot about being present and being in the present moment, especially when he talk about that 81-point game. So I'm not really surprised, but I'm very, very thankful that they did this documentary because it allowed us to really get inside his mind, to really see some depth to Jordan, because he's always been larger than life. We didn't have, we got social media and everything that we have now. You can literally peer right into people's lives. But with Jordan, back then in that time in the 90s, couldn't really do that. So that's what this documentary is really, doing for a lot of people. But all that inspired, this particular video, because something that we've always known, the power of the mind and the role that it plays when it comes to accomplishing your goals, especially if you study successful people. I'm a person that studies a lot of people who kind of created their own success, so to speak, or, had those rags to riches type stories. But I don't know if it was Phil Jackson, or if it was something that Michael was truly just already kind of gifted at. But mindfulness and the ability to be present and to be in the here and now is a superpower. It's something that most people are not capable of doing. And as simple as it sounds, it's very, very, very hard to do. But it's ultimately, it's all about your own perspective of energy. You know what I'm saying? Your mind determines if something is negative or positive. A positive or negative is just simply a concept that your mind has came up with and already agreed to. That's the key. But you have the power to rewire that. You get what I'm saying? You got the power to rewire your mind, to change your mind. That's why I always say change your mind to change your life. So if your mind is saying that something is bad, then that thing is going to manifest and continue to pop up as a negative experience in your life, because what's right is what your mind makes right. Always remember that, because in the Matrix they said your mind is what makes it real. The mind makes it real. You understand? The mind makes it real. So Michael was very, very self-aware. He had a lot of knowledge of himself. He was very self-aware of who he was. It's this line in Drake say one of these lines. It goes, being humble don't work as well as being aware. It's one of my favorite things he ever said. It's one of my favorite lines ever, because it's one of the most truest shit I've ever heard. You know, because people always be like, oh, you got to be humble. No, being humble don't work as well as being aware. You understand? You just got to be aware of who you are, what triggers you. That's all it really takes. See, Michael was self-aware enough to know that what motivated him. All he needed was competitiveness to be motivated. He literally, you can look all throughout the whole series, would come up with reasons to be extra competitive with people. He would come up with things in his mind, in his own mind, to push him past his opponents and to push him towards what it was he was trying to accomplish. He did that to himself. He used that as his own motivating factor. See, your spiritual foundation from the ancestors, they already told you that this was an inward journey. Everything is about going within yourself. It's about going within. So your job is to cultivate your mind. That's all you're really supposed to be out here doing, cultivating your mind, because your enlightenment is your power that you wield. And the more enlightened you become, the more power you can wield, because the more aware you become. You understand? This is the power that is already within you. You got to know the power of your own mind. It's like he said, that was the separator between Michael and all other people. Even when you look at when Jordan was older, there's a story about when Jordan was older, when he was playing with the Wizards, had his worst game he ever had. He scored 6 points. He scored like 6 points. Doug Collins took him out the game, and he really did not like that shit. And he told himself in his mind that Doug Collins don't believe in me no more. He told himself that, damn, he don't think I can do this no more. So you know what Jordan did in this game? He went out and got like 51 points for the Wizards at like 40-something years old. So you just got to know yourself, man. You just got to know yourself. That's why I started Know Thyself, because it is so much power in simply knowing who you are and what you are. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. It's the mind above everything. The mind is all. The mind is all. You learn that and you understand that and you carry that principle with you,